Gerry and Faith enjoy an epic helicopter-yacht date. The gang hangs out at Santa Monica Pier, and only 3 contestants make it to hometowns. You are watching Romance Recap on Reader Seeks Romance channel, and we're discussing The Golden Bachelor, Season 1, Episode 5. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I am Tiffany Current.
Join us as we discuss and dissect the second chance romance journey of widower Gerry Turner as he searches for a partner with whom to share the sunset years of his life. If you are listening to us on Podbean or your favorite podcast app, then be sure to like and subscribe to Romance Recap. And watch Romance Recap on Reader Seeks Romance's YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hello, Tiffany.
Oh my goodness, what a week. It has been crazy. Can I just tell you my biggest takeaway of this week?
Yes.
It was Ellen's glasses. I'm sorry, they came out of the blue. Ellen wearing like a leopard print glasses at one point like red glasses, and she was looking phenomenal. I was like, where were these glasses? It felt like, remember in She's All That when the girl comes down the steps and suddenly she's a completely different person?
Right.
That was Ellen to me. Completely different person. She was like Superman in reverse. All the power were in her glasses. And I loved it. I loved Ellen with glasses. Loved it.
I find it interesting that that's your takeaway. You have really noticed the accessories and eyewear of the season.
That was my biggest thing. What about you?
Well, I went a little deeper than that. My word of the episode is torture.
Oh no.
It is time for Gerry to release himself and his final 3 and the viewing audience from the torture of watching everyone falling in love with him and then not knowing whose heart's going to be broken, watching everyone just with this pained expression.
I know.
I'm ready to be released. I want the season over, and I want to know that everything's okay.
I like that. Glasses and torture. That's the perfect combination, I guess. So then let's dive in. We start with, the girls are dancing and singing. They're happy. And then suddenly Jesse appears looking fantastic as usual. The women are sitting on the couch. He says there's only 3 hometowns. Everyone gets very quiet. Yeah. And that's what's getting ready to announce this one in a lifetime, as he stressed, exciting date. And Faith looks very nervous because she's like, am I going to get it? Am I finally going to get it? Am I finally going to get it? She gets the date and she screams. She's super excited. She's super excited.
Yeah, she really wants this. I mean, we've known it from the past so many episodes. All she wants is time with Gerry, and we know that the producers have purposely been keeping them apart to build the suspense for us viewers. And she is super thrilled. Not everyone, though, around her is super thrilled for her. At least not when the cameras get people separately and privately. But before I continue on, I would just like to check in about Sandra, her state of mind. Because when we first opened the episode, everyone's frolicking in the pool except her, and she's just looking like forlorn. She just looks like I don't know if she's still sick. I don't know.
I don't know.
And then when Jesse comes in to announce, this is the date card. If you look at Sandra, she just looks so like, I don't know if she's just tired of being there. Maybe she just isn't.
I think so.
It.
I think so.
But I really was picking up on that vibe. I was like, this is a very heavy way to go. Very low energy.
I think she's done. I think she's done. She's like, you know what? I did all I could. This is obviously not meant to be. I'm moving on with my life. I think the girls who know they're the top girls know it. And the girls who know they aren't the top girls also know it. And I think Sandra's like, you know what? I missed my daughter's wedding. Let's move on. I want to go be there for her at this point.
Absolutely. And now Leslie, we're starting to see Leslie and even Ellen get a little bit catty once, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But as of right now, Leslie's like, oh, Gerry saved this very special date for Faith. So how does that make me feel? And so tell us about that date they had, Tiffany. And Gerry broke out the yellow Jeep again.
That was my first note. Once again, we see Gerry driving down the freeway in a yellow car. Where is he driving, folks? Why are we constantly watching him driving? Are we selling cars? I don't know what's going on.
I'm thinking it's a sponsorship. A car sponsorship probably that they have to show
But I
the
didn't
car.
even know what brand it is. I don't know the
That's
model. I
true.
was like, but it's a nice little car. Either way, he shows up acting like this is his house at this point. And he picks up Faith and they go on this date. Once again, they're driving again in a car. And it's like, come on, guys, let's stop with the driving. And finally, they land
Yeah.
at like a helicopter pad to get on a helicopter out of the blue.
Oh, and Faith tells Gerry, like, oh, I'm afraid of heights. So I was like, oh, this is going to be,
That's
okay.
why they picked it. That's why they
This
picked
is
it.
why
Like, what
they
is
picked
she
it.
afraid of?
Right.
Um,
And Gerry, though, is like, kind of comforting her, but she got into it pretty quickly. And they're just circling Malibu over the mansion, which I
yes,
thought was like,
they're
okay.
circling the mansion. The girls are waving. I don't
Yeah.
know what's happening, whatever. But while they
Yeah.
are on this helicopter, they are like making out. They are enjoying
Yes.
themselves. To me, it felt like, I'm like, this is very 50 Shades of Grey. Remember when they were in that helicopter ride?
So do you think that was the vibe they were going for?
I don't know, but when they first got there, I thought, don't tell me that this motorcycle riding, boat building man is also a helicopter pilot. I thought he was
Oh,
going to be able to fly it, but luckily that was not the case. So
that
I'm
would
like,
have
come
been
on,
awesome. I would
come on.
have loved that. I would have loved that.
It didn't happen, but either way, they're flying around in this
Mhm.
helicopter, and then randomly he says, "You see that yacht over there? We're gonna land in it." Faith starts freaking out. I start freaking out. I'm like, what is going on with these dangerous stunts that they're doing this season of The Golden Bachelor?
Well, I mean,
It's ridiculous.
to be fair, the yacht did look small from there where they were in the sky, but realistically, it was a heliport, whatever it's called,
Yes.
pad. Yeah. So, yeah. So, but Gerry was holding Faith's hand. It's okay. I got you. I mean, honestly, I would feel safe with Gerry under any
Yeah.
circumstance. Let's be honest.
He's a good partner. He's a very comforting partner. He cares about
Yeah.
people. He wants to make sure you're doing okay. And can I
Yeah.
just say, whenever they landed, he was like super excited.
He
I think
was.
this man is a thrill seeker. Like he loves to do all this like crazy stuff, motorcycle riding, ATVs or whatever it's called, all the
Yes.
time. It's crazy. It's
I
crazy.
have noticed that too, is that he's really getting a genuine thrill out of all of these big, epic,
Yes.
adventurous dates. I did want to say though,
Yeah.
everyone considers helicopters and everything romantic. I would have been vomiting so hard from circling. If when you're on an airplane, they're circling before they can
Yeah.
land. Oh my God, I get so nauseous. But then them coming down and landing
I
on
know.
a boat, I get
I
seasick.
know.
I mean, I thought that was a bit much to me. I was just dizzy from the whole thing.
That was a bit much. Gerry was excited. And what I loved about this is the fact that, and I wrote this down, he legit seems so relaxed, so chill.
Yeah.
Him and Faith were like sitting on the patio. He was wearing sunglasses. They were
Yeah.
kissing. He was drinking wine. He was living his best life. He was living his best life with Faith, in my opinion.
Yeah, now I'm wondering if it was just being in Faith's presence, or is he just so used to the Golden Bachelor lifestyle that he's really embracing it? This was the loosest I think I've seen
Yes.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I legit wrote like he shines when he's with her. I wrote that down. Like
Yes.
something about him is just like shining and just
Yeah.
totally relaxed with her compared to
Yeah.
the other women. And that was a note to me. It was a
Ab-
note.
Absolutely. I believe it was at this point that Gerry tells Faith that I don't know if he told Faith or it was the camera, but he said that he likes how Faith looks at him with warm, soft eyes.
Yes,
And
yep,
he's
exactly.
really into how women, like, he likes seeing the love they have for him reflected in
Yeah,
their eyes. And I think that's ridiculously romantic, like in a very
it's
good
very
way.
sweet. It's very sweet. It's just like he's so focused on that connection. He likes that connection, and that's what does
Yes.
it for him. And he feels
Yeah.
that they have this connection. And I
Yeah.
really enjoyed, that I'm a Faith lover. So this was like my thing. I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
And what I love about Faith is that she's such a real person. She even said, like, is this really real? She's like, that's
Mhm.
the one thing I wanted to find out. Like, yes, I'm falling for you, but is this really real? And I love her because she's a realist. And at that moment, they decide to have a real conversation. And she admits that she had a very hard childhood. I was not
Yeah.
expecting this turn. It was very surprising to me.
I wasn't either. She used the term homeless teen. Her choice of words was interesting because she said, I was a homeless teen. I had no mother and father.
Yes,
But she didn't say an orphan.
that's
So,
correct.
so I was a little, I feel like it's a much more complex situation than we think. And throughout the whole, her really bearing her soul to Gerry, he was such a compassionate listener.
I
I mean,
know, I
he was
know.
hanging on her every word, you know, he hugged her. He was very supportive. And at this point, he mentioned to her, I'm looking for someone to have a deep emotional connection with and have an
Yes.
attachment to, because she expressed concerns about allowing herself to be vulnerable and fully falling in love. Like she even says to the camera at the beginning of the date, I really like Gerry. And it isn't until the end of the
Yes.
date where she's like, well, I'm falling for him. So she's really been very cautious. Yeah.
It's
So
true, but she had a reason. She had a reason. Remember, she said
she
that
definitely
she's
had a reason.
scared
Yeah.
due to past relationships. She said so she's a little scared because it sounds like in the past she hasn't been with people that are the right fit for her.
Mm.
So that's kind of why she's taking it slow, I think.
Yes. Yes. And he mentions being intrigued by Faith.
I wrote the same thing down. The language he was using this episode,
Yes.
I was like writing, I was like, what are these phrases that he's randomly saying out of the blue? I'm like, he's intrigued by her. I was like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So at some point, he likes her enough to give her a rose to do the hometown, and then once
Yes.
again, of course, they get in the hot tub because you have to on The Bachelor.
Listen,
You have to get in the hot tub.
I would love to challenge that production staff and pick random locations and be like, go ahead, show me you could fit a hot tub in there. Because no matter where they are, although I know that the hot tub was already built into the yacht, but I feel
Yes,
like
that
no
is
matter
true.
where they go, there's a hot tub. They make it happen. So,
They make it
yes,
happen.
they were hot tubbing and they were kissing. Did you recognize where that yacht was floating around? Like
Where was it?
in
Was it
the
in the marina?
background?
Where was it?
Yes, Fisherman's Village in Marina Del Rey.
Shut up. That's
Yes.
super cool.
Yes. You because they have
They
the
should
different.
not have a yacht and like that size in the
Yeah,
marina.
no, they
That's
do.
silly.
Oh, they do.
Really? That's very
Yes,
silly.
I used to live in Marina Del Rey in
Of
Los Angeles,
course. I
as you
remember.
know, and we would walk along and read all the funny names of the yachts and all that. But that was definitely Fisherman's Village because in the background you see all the different colored buildings. Yeah, so I
That's
thought that was pretty
funny.
cool.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, while she's having
Yes,
the time of her life, these girls, Leslie, the private dancer, she was in tears. This was a side of Leslie I was not expecting.
me neither.
She seemed to take a turn from that fun, vivacious woman that we're
Yeah,
used to seeing
yeah.
to being more like introspective and quiet and a little sad. And she's a little worried. And so then when Faith walks in looking like she had the time of her life, you could just
Mm.
tell from her body language and her expression. And all the girls are like, what happened? And what I appreciate about Faith is she's like, are you sure you want to know?
She did say that. And Susan, who kind of was like the spokesperson for the group, was like, oh, of course, yes, tell me. Now, nobody else objected. Nobody objected. Everyone
Nobody
seemed
objected.
supportive. Okay. And from there, Leslie, man, if looks could kill, Leslie is looking at Faith like, I'm so uncomfortable with this. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. And then you cut to Ellen, who looks a little like perturbed. And then she
Yes, that is
tells the
true.
camera, like she's pretty annoyed. She tells the
Yep.
camera,
She was like, I was fine with it up into the hot tub. She's like,
right.
uh-oh, hot tub.
And she took a page out of Kathy's book, our dear old friend Kathy. Faith shouldn't give those details. And then she says, you're not special, girlfriend. I was like, well, that's a little bit much, Ellen.
I think everyone's catching feelings, so they're all
Yes.
getting a little extra emotional. And I will say,
Yeah.
after Faith is done giving that elaborate story of the best date ever, from there we get the final group date at where, Liz? Where is the final group date?
Santa Monica Pier in your old stomping ground.
I know it was both of our old stomping grounds this episode. It was very exciting.
That's true. Yes, I have lots of fond memories of Santa Monica. I have fond memories of Santa Monica and you because
Thank
you
you.
once lived
I
in
lived
the
there.
area.
Yeah.
And honestly, this was a very nostalgic episode for me. And I felt warm cozies just because it reminded me of my former home in Los Angeles. So I thought
I know
it was really
it
fun.
was sweet. I love seeing the Santa Monica Pier and being like, I live there. But what I love is that you're at the pier, Gary's there, all the girls start running up, and Gerry says to them, "You all have a special style." Did you read that? I was like, Gerry, what are you
Okay.
saying this episode? What are you saying?
Gerry, he is the sweetest man. He made the most democratic umbrella
Ah,
statement to cover everybody. It's like, oh, you all have such special style because here's the thing.
okay.
I thought it was him like saying, like maybe he didn't like everybody's style, but wasn't going to point to one person out because he's like, oh, you all have such a special style. It was, you know what? He's like a kindergarten teacher. Like
I can
the way
see that.
he,
Yes, that's
which
very true.
might not work for everybody when you're talking about romantic relationships, but he has a very nice way of making everybody feel special and
That's
seen.
true. That's
Mhm.
true. That is very true. It was just I wrote it down because I was like, this once again is a note, this language that he's using. But
Yes.
from there, we get to see them doing a lot of fun stuff. They do whack-a-mole, which Sandra wins. They ride like that little terrifying boat ride, which I've done before, which is terrifying. A ring toss, bumper cars. They were having the time of their lives. And then finally,
Yes.
we get some little individual break-offs. And then the very first one was with Teresa and Gerry. I think they go and they sit on a bench to have a conversation.
Yeah, after all the fun and games, there's the professions of love, and each contestant makes kind of their final plea or final case in their defense, like, hey,
Yes.
I'm the person you should give a chance to. So Teresa's the first that we see, and
Pick me, choose me. Yeah, that's basically what was happening.
more or less. And before I continue, let me just say you did mention about Sandra winning at whack-a-mole. This is when Sandra came truly alive again. The light in her eyes returned when she was doing all the games. And we know she's a
Yes,
highly competitive person.
she's
So
very
it
competitive.
just made me feel so much better to see her like care and be high energy again.
That's true.
So back to Teresa. She tells Gerry, I'm falling in love with you.
Yes.
I haven't felt this way in 52 years since I first, experienced this with my husband. And she wants Gerry to meet her family so he can see who she really is.
She professed everything. She said, I love you, meet my family.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
like she
yeah.
just said it all. And then they just made out.
They made out, and she said, I think that we really would work together. And
Yeah.
he agreed because yeah, we could work. And I'm like, I wonder what that means. And then he said, oh, it's so nice of you to say, all these things and he's really good at like acknowledging what they're saying without
Yes.
making promises.
Well, you're not
Although
supposed to. You're not supposed
you're not
to. That's
supposed to, right? Although we've heard people get ahead of themselves and say things that lead other people on. And Gerry says that Teresa is safety and security to him.
that's actually very sweet.
And then he leans in for his signature face grab deep kiss move that he did you notice how he like envelops their whole face in his boat building hands?
I don't know why he kisses like that, but I guess because he's all about being face to face, maybe he's like, I gotta get right in your face.
Yeah,
That's what he
unless he
likes. That's what
can't
he's into.
see as well. Maybe he left his glasses at home. I don't know how these women
He's
are.
feeling around in the dark and he's like, I think this is a face. I gotta grab it to make sure. No, that's not
I
what's
mean,
happening.
I don't know how these women aren't walking around with neck braces because he's been
I
kissing a lot
mean,
of them and he's been in some cases really just going in for it. It's like, oh
he's been really
man.
going for it.
Yeah.
I will say from their date, we see him briefly with Sandra, and it's like at this point, it's not going to work out. Then we see him briefly with Susan. And once again, when I saw Susan and him sitting side by side, I was like, okay, this is never going to work.
No.
But Susan to me, I don't know why this came to my mind. I said, Susan to me is like a box of crayons. She's every single color in the box. She's this amazing, vibrant personality. They would just never work. They would never work together, but I still
Yeah.
love her and I still think she should have her own show. I love Susan. I
I
love her.
would love to see her have her own show. Would
Yes.
you be in favor of her being the Golden Bachelorette?
I don't know. She seems like a fun single person. I don't necessarily
Yeah.
see her settling down yet. I see her having a little bit more fun first. That's just my
Yeah,
perspective.
I honestly don't want to see her give up her single status. I want her having fun. I want her dating around. I want her making meatballs at 7 a.m.
Yes,
and going out
that
to the
should be
pool.
her
Yeah.
her show. She's like, whatever it's called, just like that. That's what it is right now. It's an older woman,
Yes. And just like,
single in the city.
maybe
The
she should
reality
go on
show.
the show and just like that. You just mentioned it. Why doesn't she do a guest role?
She could totally be the Samantha. She could totally be the Samantha.
Oh my
That's
God.
fun.
That show could use a Samantha.
Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
whole
Well,
other show for us to
that's
talk
a whole
about.
other show.
Yeah.
So let's get back in. From there, we go to Leslie. Leslie is having a straight up breakdown.
Oh yeah.
So she, first of all, her and Gerry get together, and he says to her, first thing, he has bruises from their date.
I wrote this down
And
too.
she says, "You told me to squeeze." I'm like, all right, guys, what's
Okay.
what's going on?
All
We
right.
didn't see this.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I started rewinding in my head their ATV date. Now they had
Okay.
their own ATVs. So why
Yes.
because I thought, oh, she must have been holding on to him, but she couldn't unless they did
They had
eventually
their
share.
own. Maybe they did and they didn't show it because I thought the same thing. I'm
Maybe.
like, no,
Yeah.
they were both on their own separate ones. So unless something happened in the hot tub, which is very possible.
That was the other thing. Maybe they listen. I don't know if that was kind of like code for something they
I
might
don't
have
think that
done
was
off camera.
Shush.
And he was doing a little
No,
wink and a nod to that, I
I
don't know.
don't I don't think that was it. But I think the way that she said squeeze is that she was doing a wink and a nod. But I think he was innocent and I think she did the wink and the nod. And I like
Okay.
Leslie.
Okay.
But he was very sweet. He says he wakes up thinking about her. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, this, and that's how I knew. I was like, he must like her because he's saying, I'm thinking about you
Yes.
off camera, which is always a good
Do you
sign.
remember who he said that to last time?
To
That he,
Joan.
to Joan. And do
And
you
she
remember
left.
what he was driving when he met Joan? Wasn't it the
Was it the
yellow
yellow
Jeep?
car? I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I thought so.
That's the sign. We have to
But
figure it
anyway,
out. We have to do a side by side. But at this point, Leslie's very, I don't know, she's very sad and nervous, and she tells the viewers that she's been cheated on, and it's kind of bringing up a lot of
yes.
emotions being in this specific situation. And he was once again very comforting. He says, "I've got you." It was very sweet. It was very sweet.
Oh my, yes. Leslie, after admitting that she had been in relationships where she was cheated on, she mentioned what we mentioned about their ATV date, about how when he was riding in front of her, he kept looking back to make sure she was safe, and all he could think about was protecting his woman. So now Leslie
Yeah.
mentioned that, and she said, you looking back to make sure I was safe. She goes, nobody does that for me right now. And Gary's just said without missing a beat, he goes, I will.
I know. I wrote it down too, and I was like, ah,
Oh my God, I get chills.
Gary.
I mean, he said it with such certainty. Like, I'm not going to doubt that. Like, you're absolutely,
He
yeah.
did not miss a beat, as you said. He said it immediately. He said, "I will look out for you." And I'm like, I'm done. It was,
Yeah.
I am a ride or die Faith girl, as you know, but
Yeah. Mhm.
this moment between them was very sweet and made
It
me
was.
think about changing teams there, but whatever.
Oh,
I
really? Well, that's interesting.
one final call out is he did say something. I don't know if you caught
Yes.
this. Maybe you
Okay. Okay.
did.
Go ahead. You can say it. You can say it. Uh-huh.
At one point, he tells her, "You're my girl." He's
Yes.
also said this exact same statement to Ellen in the past. Yes, remember?
Wait a second. I have a note about that. No, he didn't.
No, he
Okay.
didn't.
According to my sources, okay, um, producers, now this is quote, I forgot where I got this from, but producers had
Okay.
edited the promos to make it look like Gerry said, "You're my girl" to Ellen. But clearly that was a fake out. When he said, "You're my girl," that was a clip that you saw, not in an actual episode.
No, that's not
No,
true. That's not true.
really?
Ever him and Ellen at some point had a date. I don't know if it's when, I don't think she
Okay.
was wearing the pink dress. It was something after the pink dress scene. They were kissing at one point, and he did, and I think she was saying for the very first time that she was falling for him. That's the very first time she admitted her feelings, and he said, "You're my girl," in that scene. I have to go back. It was a couple episodes ago.
Really? Okay,
Yep.
because when I read, so I wanted to look that up because I remember you saying he said it to Ellen, and I was researching to find out like what episode. And then I found what I just read to you saying, oh no, that was just a fake out. He didn't really say that to Ellen. They took what he said to Leslie, and then
Leslie.
oh, so you're saying that this is wrong, what I read. He actually did say that to Ellen. Oh, wow.
I think it could be both things, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
there was an episode when she first admitted her feelings for him, that she was falling for him. They were sitting on a bench, and he said, "You're my girl." I just found that to be of note. That just might be what he says to people.
Let me tell you, when he said that to her, I was like,
Yeah,
listen, you can't say that unless she really is your girl. So then I
I
wonder,
agree.
did he let it slip how he really does feel and who he's planning to pick for his final
I
woman.
don't know. I
His
don't know. It was
friendly woman.
interesting. But
Yeah.
going from there, I believe the final date is with Ellen, and Ellen is scared. She's nervous about what's happening. They go on a roller coaster. They have a good time. Eventually they sit and talk, and she says she's never met anyone where the lines are this parallel before, and she once again says that she's falling in love with him, and
Yes.
she pulls him into a kiss.
She pulled a Gary on him. Yep.
Yes, it's
She
true.
pulled him in, like she's got strong hands, pulled him in and kissed him. And I felt
Yep.
like he kissed her, but kind of like pulled away a little. Like I think he was, again, we
Yeah,
get nothing but friend vibes on
I
his
know.
end,
I know.
I know. And oh my God, she broke my heart because she even said, she goes, I want to introduce you to my family and my friends and
I
Roberta,
know.
who we
I know.
remember from the first episode fighting cancer. And this
I know.
season was dedicated to Roberta because we did learn that she has since passed. Oh, Ellen, oh, I just feel for her so
I
much.
know.
And so all of this fun at Santa Monica Pier ends with Gary refusing to give a rose at the end of the group date and wants to save it for the rose ceremony so he has time to gain more clarity.
I appreciated that because after all these women confess their love to him, it would be super awkward to give it a rose. But actually, she had the best story. Here's the rose. So I'm glad he was like, I need to take a minute.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to take a minute.
It was a highly emotional moment for everyone. He made the best decision to kind of de-escalate things because honestly,
Yeah.
if he would have said it right there, like actually, here's a question: who do you think he was going to give the rose to on that day? Like we know
Um,
who he gives. We'll go over who he gives the roses to,
I
but
think
do
if he
you?
was gonna give a rose out that night, he would have given it to Leslie.
Okay, you think he would have
Um,
given it to her? Okay.
but I'm
Yeah.
glad that he did not give out a rose because it was not the right time to do it. There were too
Yeah.
many emotions happening there. It was not the right time to do it.
Yeah, I think Ellen would have really like lost it in that moment. Like I
You
think
think
I was actually wondering if she was gonna jump up and like storm off. Like I didn't know how she was gonna take it. So I'm glad he did not make a decision in on that evening. Yeah.
he did not make a decision, and at that moment, we cut to the actual rose ceremony, and the women walk
Yes.
in, and it's a very solemn moment.
Hmm.
And Gary looks very nervous, and he starts handing out the final two roses.
Yes, he does. And he's already starting to tear up. He admitted
I
he had a
know,
sleepless night and he gives roses to Teresa and to Leslie,
I know. It
which
was
means
crazy.
we say goodbye now to Ellen, Sandra, and Susan. And what's funny is when Sandra goes up to say goodbye, it was almost like, it wasn't, it was a little formal. It's like, okay, yeah, hi,
Yeah.
okay, bye, thanks so much, wish you luck. And she did not look well rested. I really was concerned for her.
Oh,
She looked really
remember she
run
got
down.
sick. She got sick the other day, and now she's
Well,
probably being forced to
but
do all these activities when
But then
she's
she
sick.
perked up at the pier and then she looked like she wasn't feeling well again. It's like, oh, Sandra, you need to go home,
She
really.
needs a break.
Yeah. And then Susan comes over all smiles because Susan she knew.
Susan's amazing. She's
Yeah.
like, whatever, I'm gonna go back to my hair
Yeah.
salon and I'm gonna be cool, dude.
Yeah. And Gary said, he goes, Susan, you're the best. And I agree.
She is the best. I love Susan. And then finally we see Ellen, and of course he says, can I walk you out? And she's like, yeah,
Yeah.
all right, that's fine.
She was
Sure.
trying so hard not to really just succumb to the torrent of emotion that she
I
had.
know.
Yeah, she was really biting back a lot. Like you could tell she was just trying to be very, you know.
She was trying to hold it in,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't even remember what he said to her on the bench, and I don't think she did either, because eventually she's just like, all right, that's all I can do. I've got to go. I've got to go off in my limo now.
Oh my God. I think they hug and then she just like caresses his face in such a heartbreaking
Oh,
manner. And then, yeah, she's just like, okay, I gotta leave. And yeah, she jumped in the limo and I was really curious to know what she would say when just one-on-one with the camera in the limo. And she said that she actually was shocked that she didn't
yeah.
make it to hometowns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough, but
Yeah.
honestly, he has a thing for brunettes. Like he's into brunettes. His wife was a brunette. The three women he picked, they're brunettes. He likes brunettes. That's his type.
Yeah. Yes, yes. So it seems. So it seems. So what's interesting is I looked to see where good old Gare is going to be traveling to for hometowns. And Teresa is from New Jersey. Faith, she's in
Oh,
Washington State. And Leslie's in
interesting.
Minnesota.
Looks like it's in Minnesota. That's a note. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because being she dated Prince, Prince was from Minneapolis. That's where he lived,
Oh,
Minneapolis.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a nice tie-in. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the previews from hometowns? I didn't feel like they gave us too much
There
that
was
I
nothing
can
to
kind of
see. I
make
feel like
sense of.
I saw a lot of grandchildren, and then I was like, all right, I've seen enough. It's like I don't need to see grandchildren, like let's
Yeah.
see the relationship being built or being destroyed. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have to
Yeah.
wait until next week to see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see a hometowns with adult children and grandchildren, because whenever we've seen hometowns or even any type of show where you meet family, these are younger people who
It's
only
true.
have parents or maybe even grandparents to introduce the potential partner to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, having adult children like puts a different spin on things.
I agree because they're probably going to ask a lot more interesting questions than like the brother and sister. They're going to be like, "This is my dad." Well,
Yeah.
this is actually it's going to be from the women's perspective, so it's going to be more so
Yeah.
this is my mom. So it could
This is
be
this is my mom. Yeah. Now, do you think Gary's daughters will join him at any point?
yeah,
No.
because
Oh, you
he
do?
does
Okay.
bring the after hometowns, he brings people to meet his family. That's usually how it works.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that. All right. Well, then
Yeah.
that's excellent. Well, good luck, Gare. Do you have any final comments or anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
I have no final comments. I think we went through it all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, it wasn't I mean it was an emotional episode. There wasn't a whole lot of things that happened, because it was more focusing on the emotional journeys of Gary and the ladies. So that's all we have for you. I think the most important lesson that we've learned is from Sandra in episode 5. Don't miss your daughter's wedding for the chance to date Gary Turner, or you'll end up in a bunk bed with lactose intolerance and a whack-a-mole win, but no hometowns rose.